In the late 1st century AD, the Roman Empire stood at the zenith of its power, stretching from the deserts of North Africa to the windswept frontiers of Britannia. Under the rule of Emperor Domitian, the Roman legions pushed further into uncharted lands, seeking to consolidate their hold on the furthest reaches of the empire. It was in this relentless march of expansion that Gnaeus Julius Agricola, the governor of Britannia, set his sights on the untamed lands of Caledonia, modern-day Scotland. What lay ahead was a formidable challenge, a land of rugged highlands, dense forests, and fierce tribes who had resisted Rome's might for generations. The confrontation that ensued at Mons Graupius in 83 AD would mark one of the most significant battles of the Roman conquest of Britain, though its historical accuracy remains debated. Since their initial invasion of Britain in 43 AD under Emperor Claudius, the Romans had steadily expanded their control over the island. However, the farther north they ventured, the more resistance they encountered. The lands of Caledonia were inhabited by warlike tribes who refused to submit to the Roman yoke. These peoples, collectively referred to as the Caledonians, were skilled in guerrilla warfare, utilizing the mountainous terrain and dense woodlands to ambush Roman supply lines and patrols. Their ability to disappear into the landscape made them elusive opponents, frustrating Rome's attempts to establish lasting control. Gnaeus Julius Agricola, an experienced military commander and an astute politician, was determined to bring Caledonia under Rome's dominion. In the preceding years, he had pushed deep into enemy territory, constructing a series of forts and roads to facilitate Roman movement. His strategy was methodical, subduing individual tribes, cutting off their supplies, and forcing them into submission through psychological and military pressure. By 83 AD, the campaign had reached a boiling point. The remaining unconquered tribes, recognizing the existential threat posed by Roman expansion, united under a leader named Calvicus. It was under his command that the Caledonians prepared to make their stand against the Roman invaders. The Roman army that Agricola led into battle was a formidable force. Estimated at around 20,000 men, it consisted of a corps of heavily armed Roman legionaries, disciplined and battle-hardened, supported by a large contingent of auxiliaries. These auxiliary troops were drawn from various regions of the empire: Batavian cavalry, Germanic infantry, and Iberian slingers, each bringing specialized combat skills to the battlefield. The Romans were equipped with gladii, short stabbing swords, scuta, large rectangular shields, and pila, javelins designed to pierce enemy shields and disrupt formations. Their armor, typically larica segmentata, segmented plate armor, provided excellent protection while allowing for flexibility in movement. In contrast, the Caledonians, numbering an estimated 30,000 warriors, were less organized but no less determined. Their weaponry consisted mainly of long swords, spears, and small round shields. Many of their warriors fought unclothed or wore minimal armor, relying on speed and ferocity to overwhelm their enemies. They were adept at skirmishing tactics, utilizing hit-and-run strategies to exploit weaknesses in Roman formations. Though some wielded chariots, a nod to the ancient warfare traditions of Britain, these were of limited effectiveness against Rome's disciplined lines. The exact location of Mons Graupius remains a matter of debate among historians, as no definitive archaeological evidence has been found. However, based on Tacitus descriptions, the battle likely took place in a valley or plain surrounded by hills, where the Caledonians could position themselves advantageously. The rugged terrain of northern Scotland posed challenges for Roman logistics and movement, but Agricola, ever the strategist, used his knowledge of terrain warfare to counteract these difficulties. The Romans likely established their position on open ground, where their formations and cavalry could operate effectively, while the Caledonians took the high ground, preparing for a downhill charge. As dawn broke, the two armies faced each other, a tense silence hanging in the air. The Caledonians, from their elevated position, shouted war cries and beat their shields, a cacophony of defiance meant to unnerve their enemy. Then Calvicus, the Caledonian leader, delivered a rousing speech, recorded by Tacitus, though likely dramatized, declaring that they were fighting for their freedom, their lands, and their very survival against an empire that devoured all in its path. Agricola, knowing the importance of maintaining discipline, signaled the advance. The battle began with a volley of projectiles. Roman archers and slingers unleashed a deadly rain of arrows and stones upon the Caledonian ranks. The auxiliaries moved forward first, engaging the enemy with javelins and quick skirmishing maneuvers. The Caledonians, unwilling to remain passive under the barrage, charged down from their elevated position in a frenzied assault, their mass of warriors crashing into the Roman lines. The initial Caledonian charge was fierce, but the Roman troops held firm, using their disciplined formations to absorb the impact. The auxiliaries, bolstered by the solid ranks of legionaries behind them, began to counterattack. The Batavian and Tungrian cohorts, highly trained in close-quarters combat, surged forward, using their short swords to stab at the exposed bodies of their opponents. The fighting became brutal, with hand-to-hand combat spreading across the battlefield. Caledonian chariots attempted to disrupt Roman formations, but the disciplined Roman cavalry outmaneuvered them, cutting them down before they could reach the main battle lines. As the battle raged on, Agricola, recognizing the moment to strike decisively, ordered his cavalry to encircle the enemy. The Roman horsemen swept around the flanks, cutting off any retreat and sowing chaos in the Caledonian ranks. The tide of battle turned irrevocably in Rome's favor. The Caledonians, unable to withstand the relentless Roman assault, began to break and flee. What followed was a merciless slaughter. Tacitus, in his writings, claims that 10,000 Caledonians were killed, while Roman casualties were a mere 360, figures that modern historians view with skepticism, but which nonetheless underscore the scale of the Roman victory. Though the Battle of Mons Graupius was a resounding victory for Agricola and Rome, its long-term impact was limited. The Caledonians who survived the slaughter vanished into the highlands, where they continued their resistance through guerrilla tactics. Rome, despite its battlefield success, struggled to maintain control over northern Britain. The harsh terrain, combined with the relentless resistance of the native tribes, made long-term occupation untenable. Not long after the battle, Agricola was recalled to Rome, possibly due to political rivalries or Domitian's reluctance to commit further resources to an uncertain conquest. With his departure, the Romans gradually pulled back, and within a few decades, they constructed Hadrian's Wall, 122 AD, to mark the northern boundary of their empire in Britain. Caledonia remained unconquered, its people never fully subdued by Rome. The battle remains one of the most intriguing conflicts in Roman Britain's history, primarily due to its documentation by Tacitus. However, modern scholars debate the accuracy of his account. Tacitus, being Agricola's son-in-law, had a vested interest in glorifying his achievements. Some argue that the scale of the battle was exaggerated or that it was a minor engagement inflated for propaganda purposes. Despite these uncertainties, Mons Graupius symbolizes the limits of Roman expansion. It was a demonstration of Rome's military prowess, but also a stark reminder that some lands and peoples could never be fully brought under imperial rule. The Caledonians, though defeated in battle, endured in their resistance, a testament to the resilience of those who stood against the might of Rome. Mons Graupius stands as a pivotal moment in the history of Roman Britain. It was a battle fought at the very edge of the known world, where civilization clashed with untamed wilderness, and where the might of Rome met the indomitable spirit of the Caledonian tribes. Though Rome claimed victory, the battle ultimately marked the northernmost reach of the empire, as the lands beyond remained forever beyond their grasp.